Welcome back, beer tubers. Ryan here with my 2012 Great American Beer Festival wrap-up video. Sorry it's a bit late. I wanted to shoot this while it was all fresher in my mind earlier when I got back from Denver, but I've been busy. So I'm finally getting around to it. While I do that, I'm going to be drinking on a beer I finally got around to opening as well. And this is the Deschutes' Black Butte 24, their 24th anniversary beer. This is their Imperial Porter that they partially barrel-aged. This year, they did it with Daglet dates, Mission figs, and cocoa nibs. So, I'm really enjoying this beer. Been drinking on it for a while. Talk about huge dark fruit character. Yeah, you get in this, you get dark fruits. Those figs and dates clearly stand out. You get the chocolate notes in there. You get some of that bourbon mixed in. It's a great beer. It's my favorite since Black Butte 21, which I think is still my favorite. I believe that one was coffee and cocoa nibs. But it's been a while since they've done something this good for the Black Butte series. So enjoying this one as I talk to you guys here about what went on with Great American Beer Festival. I was going to post a video before I even went out there, just letting everyone know that yes, I was going to the festival, meeting up with Chris, and we were gonna hang out for the festival and kind of some of our plans of what we wanted to do. Just didn't have time for it before I went out to Denver. So I flew out Wednesday afternoon and flew out with the crew from AleSmith. There's some guys from Pizza Port. Flew out with Coronado, a lot of like San Diego breweries. It was kind of a fun flight out, especially waiting for the flight, just talking with all of them. They're all looking forward to the festival. And arrived in the afternoon, met with Chris at the hotel, went straight to the Yard House, which is 2 blocks away, and that's where you saw the video of us splitting the bottle of Odell Deconstruction. Chris had already been there a while, had already picked up his media credential, had already been, had a few beers at the Yard House. So I just wanted to, get in, have a beer real quick, and decided to shoot some footage before the Firestone Walker beer dinner that we had later that night. The Lion, the Bear, and the Brewmaster beer dinner, which we got to interview Matt beforehand. You just saw that. Chris posted on his channel. Of course, it's up on beergeeknation.com. A lot of great info. I mean, that was the first time I found out the Velvet Merkin, the 100% barrel-aged version of that beer, was going to be released. So I was filming that whole interview and just really excited behind the camera, trying not to let move the camera too much and make some sounds saying how happy I was to hear that beer was finally going to be released. Looking forward to that next year. So we had that beer dinner. Unfortunately, I didn't get around to filming like the actual beers and the pairings because it was kind of weird how they had that set up. They had definitely sit-down tables, but it was kind of like a first come, first get. And Chris and I were kind of wandering around. We didn't know quite. There was a little confusion of how that was going to work, and we ended up just sitting down in the front row because they had this talk that was hosted with David Walker, Adam Firestone, and Matt Brynolfson. And they had a bit of a history. Talking about the history of the brewery, talking about the beers, opened up to Q&A and all that. And we were basically like eating while we were sitting there without a table or anything. So it was kind of hard to do that and film, the pairings and the beers and all that at the same time while we're still listening to what was going on. So it made for a hard event to really capture. But Chris and I had a good time, and we met a few people came up to us during the event. So that was day one. The actual festival started on Thursday, but we wanted to get an early start. I had to go pick up my media credential, so we did that in the morning. And while we were walking down 16th Avenue in Denver, there's 2 major streets, I would say, where stuff is happening in Denver. There's 16th Street and there's Blake Street. We were walking down 16th Street, a lot of bars, restaurants, all that kind of thing. The street's closed down to regular traffic. There's a free shuttle that goes along that area. But sort of like this stone paved kind of parkway through downtown, and we're walking by and I hear my name. Well, I vaguely heard my name. I thought maybe Chris had stopped behind me because we were walking together and saw something. But I turn around and it's Brian Big Fish from Drink Like a Fish, who happened to be inside the store, saw Chris and I walking by. So that was the first time I got to meet him in person, so that was fun. And we told him, well, we're on our way to Great Divide. And he said, well, him and the wife were doing a bit of shopping, and they would meet us there later. So that's where I picked up on day 2 of us kind of sitting around the table, just shooting the shit, drinking some beers at Great Divide at like 11 in the morning, which was good fun. That place was packed. Plenty of brewery people, reps. We met some people from Ohio that were out there, talking with them for a bit. And before Brian and his wife showed up, and ran into Patrick and Tyler from the brewery while there, and they had a whole big crew there. So from Great Divide, we went over to Crooked Stave, which is a brewery Chris and I really wanted to check out. Now they have a tap room in Denver, so we went over there, ran into the crew from Society, which is a brand new brewery here in San Diego. I was talking with Doug for a bit, sampling some of the Crooked Stave beers. Then we decided to finally go to Falling Rock Tap House, which I've heard was the place to go, like over 100 taps. So we went there for a late lunch, had a couple beers, I had the burger, which was great. Place was pretty packed. We won out of that, and finally walked over to the first session of the beer festival, Great American Beer Festival. So that's where that footage picked off. Everyone, we were supposed to, well, we did get in 15 minutes early as members of the media, but they actually didn't start pouring beers till about 5:30. So we were kind of standing around, just kind of holding our place in line for Russian River, because there's a couple in front of us. They were the only ones that managed to get there before we did. We figured that was going to be a long line. Let's get there first, get Toronado 25th anniversary, get that first, get that out of the way, and then we'll move on. But we're sitting around waiting, and we heard they're not pouring until 5:30. And we were in there at like 5. So I was kind of out, just kind of scouting around, trying to figure out like how this layout was done, because we didn't really do any research as far as where the breweries were laid out. So we're kind of, as you can see from a couple of my videos, we were just trying to figure out, okay, where all the different regional sections were, and then how the order went. All the breweries went in alphabetical order, but it didn't quite make complete sense of where it started and where it wrapped around and where it continued down a different way. And it was a bit confusing at first, kind of figured out at a later time, but just going around the floor, ran into some people from San Diego I knew, and other parts of Southern California. So it was good fun seeing some local people I knew, and that wrapped up Thursday night. I think we just left the session and went back to the hotel room and called it a night. And then Friday we took it easy in the morning, and because there was a media event going on, we went to a media luncheon, started at noon at the Grand Hyatt. We went up to like the top floor, awesome view. Wish I would have got pictures. I think Chris got a couple pictures on his phone of it, but just great view of Denver and the Rocky Mountains. And had this whole 2-hour 5-course meal paired with a bunch of different beers. There's a whole presentation on it. Fortunately, we didn't film any of it. It's one of those events where it was just kind of hard to do. There's always someone talking. You really try to want to pay attention to what they're saying, and I don't know. It was hard. We had some great beers. I mean, we started off that morning with Epic Brainless on Peaches, which is a 10% Belgian Golden Ale with peaches. That started it. We ended it with Founder's Blushing Monk, which is another 10% beer. And then we were all hurried on to a 3-brewery bus tour, which I took a couple pictures on the tour. If I'm not too lazy, I'll put them on this video, which is going far too long. But first stop was Vine Street Brewery. It's part of Mountain Sun's brew pub chains. They just had a brand new brew house installed. It was very pristine, shiny, freshly tiled. Chris and I were like, let's start brewing on the system. This is great. They brought out, I think, 3 of their beers to try that are all really nice stuff, interesting beers. They did a Saison that they did a 24-hour mash on, so we got a little bit of like a lactic bacteria character on it. It was nice stuff. We even had some good food they're passing around, even though we weren't hungry after this 5-course lunch we had. Then we moved on to River North Brewery, which is a newer brewery. Very small, kind of reminded me of some of the places around San Diego in some respects. Doing some interesting beers. I forget the one they had. I think they had like a California Common that was barrel aged, or it was some beer you typically don't see that they threw in some barrels. That was pretty interesting. And then we went off to Wine Coop Brewery, which is one of the oldest breweries in Denver, if not the oldest. We got into the last half hour of a rare beer tasting that they had going on there. It was a special event that I think cost like $75 to get into, something like that. We ended up getting into the last half hour of it through this brewery tour. So unfortunately I didn't try any of the Wine Coop beers, but we got there. There was just a ton of people that were completely hammered, just absolutely just drunks. The people were dropping their glasses all over the place. It was upstairs in Wine Coop. We saw a guy sleeping on a table. We saw a bunch of people just kind of like nearly passed out on top of pool tables. There's people swaying back and forth. It was kind of crazy walking into that and seeing what was going on. Got to meet up with Sam, one of the brewers from Firestone Walker that I know. Talked with him, and they were pouring some good rare beers there we got to try, including Sam Adams' Utopias, which I think was the 10th anniversary blend there. Or actually, no, I think the 10th anniversary was at the festival, and that was like a 2009 or 2010 vintage. I forget the specifics on the Utopias, but it was great trying that again. So after that, we briefly went back to the Friday night session, which was by far the most crowded session of the ones I went to. We were there maybe about an hour, shot some footage, called the night, went to a Odell and Firestone Walker event at a beer bar / restaurant called Fresh Craft, and we hung out there for a while, just trying some Odell and Firestone Walker beers you typically don't see very often. And after that, went back to the hotel. I brought some bottles out from San Diego with me, and I wanted Chris to try a white chocolate from the brewery, so I cracked that open, which was a very bad idea for myself, who happened to be very drunk at the time. But I figured I want Chris to try this because he left early Saturday. And yeah, I woke up feeling not too well on Saturday. And then I couldn't find my camera. I just couldn't find it in the hotel room. I thought I lost it somewhere. I was trying to remember, okay, what time last night did I have it? I was sort of like, well, I had it at the festival. I shot footage, and after that, I couldn't remember. I was pretty hammered. But went to the awards ceremony Saturday morning. Cheered on all the San Diego and California breweries. After that, just kind of hung out around the media room and just tried to rest up. Stomach wasn't feeling well, but ended up going for a late lunch to Rock Bottom with the guys from West Coaster. Felt a little better after that. We're just kind of lounging around until the late session on Saturday. There was an earlier members-only session, which I did briefly go up to just to get my glass for that, but I ended up going to the later session. And finally got around to having my first beer at about 5:30 that night, maybe even a little later than that, and was hanging around the San Diego Brewers Guild table, and I went out and checked out some other beers that were recommended to me, but I was mainly talking with Matt, one of the brewers from Stone, and the West Coaster guys, and Sheldon, who produced Suds County, USA, which is a neat documentary on the early days of San Diego beer scene. So, and eventually met up with Brian Big Fish and his wife, and went around and tried a few more beers before going to dinner with them, and then calling it a night since they had an early flight out the next morning. And basically woke up, I didn't sleep well Sunday, woke up, and I just kind of in a weird state, I don't know, very, very tired, very beered out. I've never been so beered out. In fact, the next 3 days I didn't even feel like having a beer, so it took a while to kind of get back into things. But during that time I edited up all the footage, and that wrapped up my experience with the Great American Beer Festival. It was an awesome time. I had some, now that I've got experience the first time, I had some ideas, hopefully can go next year, if not sometime in the future. Have a better idea of kind of how to approach things. I want to go see the other breweries that are outside of Denver, Avery, New Belgium, Odell, all those breweries that are around outside of Denver. I want to check them out next year or the next time I go, and just take a different approach to the festival. And I forgot to mention, one of the places we went to was Euclid Hall. Mark used to do, he hasn't done them in a while, he was doing beer reviews out there. It's Not Your Dad's Beer. We met up with him when we went to Euclid Hall, Chris and I did, and had a great dinner there. Had some great food, some great beer. He paired up some bone marrow with a 2009 bottle of Doc Bichette Burton Baton. That was a great pairing. So big thanks to Mark for his hospitality at Euclid Hall. I recommend checking that place out if you're in Denver. And hopefully next year I can check out Cheeky Monk. That was one of the places I didn't quite get to that I've heard had some good beer on draft, and just had a great time and wanted to share that with you guys and kind of wrap the video. Why I got no footage of Saturday, because I thought I lost my camera. Turns out it was just buried, I think, in the sheets of the bed back at the hotel, because I got back that Saturday night and it was just sitting on the nightstand. I think the maid had put it on the table for me, and just happy to see that. Just really wanted that footage. So I ended up shooting about 40 minutes just between the 3 days. So I would have liked to have posted more from Saturday, the ceremony, and maybe some more footage from the festival floor. But oh well, unfortunately I didn't. Anyway, this video has gone on far too long. Just wanted to share my thoughts on 2012 Great American Beer Festival with everyone. Until next time, cheers.